Commander Elias Vance had been in space long enough to know that routine missions were never truly routine. The galaxy had a way of turning small jobs into large problems, and experience had taught him to expect the unexpected. Still, when the orders came from the United Terran Navy, the assignment seemed straightforward. Scout the abandoned colony on Viridian 4, investigate reports of pirate activity, and check for any valuable resources. Then return home. Easy work. Or so it looked on paper. Vance sat in the captain's chair aboard the Resolute, a small Terran reconnaissance frigate. Outside the viewport, Viridian 4 drifted into sight, a cold green and blue planet wrapped in thick clouds. The system's sun was pale and weak, casting everything in a faded light. No ships showed up on sensors, no signs of life. Just silence. "I'm not liking this," said Lieutenant Mara DeLorne, his second in command. "Too quiet," Vance smirked. "Pirates aren't exactly known for announcing themselves." The crew was small, 20 officers and technicians. The Resolute wasn't built for heavy combat. It was designed for speed and stealth. If trouble came, they would have to rely on cunning rather than firepower. The landing. The Resolute descended through the planet's thick atmosphere. The landscape was a mix of ruined alien structures and overgrown forests. Long ago, Viridian 4 had been home to the Rithari Empire, a powerful, proud species known for their artistry and arrogance. But this place had been abandoned decades ago after resource veins ran dry. Now it was just a forgotten world. The Resolute touched down near a crumbling alien facility, its towers broken and half buried under vines. The air was breathable, though, heavy with moisture. Vance led a small away team, himself, Mara, and 4 Marines, into the ruins. "Keep your eyes open," Vance said over comms. "Scans show faint energy readings inside." The team moved cautiously through the dark halls. Their boots crunched over shattered crystal tiles, and beams of light from their helmets swept across alien symbols carved into the walls. The architecture was beautiful, even in decay. Tall, arching ceilings and polished stone corridors, though cracked with age. "Energy readings are stronger now," Mara reported, checking her wrist scanner. "It's coming from deep below." The hidden chamber. They followed the signal down a winding staircase into the lower levels. The air grew colder. Dust drifted in the beams of their flashlights. Then they reached a large circular chamber, lit faintly by a pulsing blue light at its center. It wasn't pirate gear. It wasn't mining equipment. It was a stasis pod. The pod was sleek, silver, and covered in Rithari markings. Inside, behind a layer of frost, lay a young woman. Her skin was a pale silver blue, her hair like strands of molten gold. She was clearly Rithari, but dressed in regal ceremonial fabric rather than armor. Her face was peaceful, as if she were simply sleeping. Commander?" Mara's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Is that who I think it is?" Vance frowned. "And who do you think it is?" Mara tapped a few commands into her wrist scanner. The device beeped, then displayed a match. Her eyes widened. "Commander. That's Princess Orila, the Queen's daughter. A dangerous discovery. Vance had heard the name before. The Rithari royal family was famous across the galaxy. Princess Orila had been missing for over a year. Rumors ranged from assassination to kidnapping. The Rithari Empire had offered massive rewards for her return, and had quietly threatened war against anyone suspected of harming her. Finding her here on a dead world made no sense. "Why would she be in stasis?" one of the Marines muttered. Vance didn't answer. He was thinking about politics. The kind of dangerous, messy politics humans usually tried to avoid. The Rithari Empire might be powerful, but they were also unstable. If they believed humans had taken their princess, Earth could be in serious trouble. The first warning. Before Vance could decide what to do, his comm earpiece beeped with an incoming signal. It wasn't coming from the Resolute. It wasn't from any of his crew. It was an encrypted transmission routed directly to his personal channel. He accepted it. A distorted voice spoke, deep and urgent. "Commander Vance, leave the girl where she is. Seal the chamber and forget what you saw. If you remove her from this planet, Earth will burn." The message cut out instantly. No trace, no origin. Vance's jaw tightened. Whoever sent that had powerful technology. The encryption was unlike anything human systems had seen. "Sir?" Mara asked. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "We're taking her." The extraction wasn't an easy job, moving the pod. The ancient machinery hissed and groaned as they disengaged the stasis locks. The blue light flickered, and faint frost melted away from the glass. For a moment, Vance thought the woman might wake up, but she didn't stir. Once, aboard the Resolute, the medical team immediately began scans. She was alive, stable, and in deep cryosleep. They would need specialized equipment to safely wake her. "Commander," Mara said, stepping up beside him in the med bay. "If this really is the princess, every major power in the galaxy will be watching. The Rithari will want her back. Others will want to use her. And that transmission—" "I know," Vance said, "but we're not leaving someone behind because a voice told us to." Orders from above back in the command center, a new transmission, came through, this time from Admiral Kane of the Terran Navy. "Commander Vance," Kane said, his voice all business, "your discovery has been verified. You will transport the princess directly to the Galactic Council station at Eridan Prime. The Rithari ambassador will meet you there." "Yes, sir," Vance replied. "Be aware," Kane added, "that if the Rithari believe we've delayed her return for any reason, it could be interpreted as an act of hostility. This is no longer just a recon mission. The future of Earth's relations with the Rithari Empire may depend on your actions." The line went dead. Vance leaned back in his chair. He didn't like this. Something about the situation smelled wrong, but orders were orders. A second warning as the Resolute lifted off from Viridian 4, the ship's navigation officer frowned. "Sir, we've got an incoming signal again, encrypted, same as before." Vance accepted it privately, the same distorted. Voice spoke. "You made a mistake, human. She is not safe with the Council. They will kill her before she ever sees her mother. If you care about your people, turn back now." This time, the transmission didn't end right away. Instead, a set of coordinates flashed on his screen, a location deep in uncharted space, before the signal vanished again. Trouble on the horizon. For the next few hours, the journey was smooth. The princess remained in stasis. The crew carried on with quiet efficiency, but tension was growing. Everyone knew what was at stake. Then the ship's tactical officer spoke up. "Commander, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. 3 ships closing fast. They're Rithari warships." Vance narrowed his eyes. "Are they hailing us?" "No, sir. But their weapons are charged." That told him everything he needed to know. These weren't loyalist ships sent to escort the princess. These were hunters. "Red alert," Vance ordered. "All crew to stations." The alarm klaxons echoed through the Resolute. Red lights flashed across the command deck, bathing every console in a pulsing glow. 3 Rithari warships had appeared on long-range sensors, closing in fast. They weren't sending identification, codes. They weren't hailing. They had one goal: intercept the Terran frigate. Commander Elias Vance gripped the arm of his chair. "Mara, how long until they're in weapons range?" 3 minutes, Lieutenant Mara DeLorme replied, her voice tense but steady. "Their main cannons will shred us if they get close." "Engineering," Vance said over comms. "Give me every scrap of power you can. Reroute from non-essential systems." "Aye, sir," came the reply. The ship's hum deepened as the Resolute pushed its engines to their limits. 2 choices. Vance studied the tactical display. The Rithari ships were bigger, faster, and armed, to the teeth. In open space combat, his small frigate wouldn't last 30 seconds. That left him two options. Try to outrun them. Outsmart them. He chose the second. "Mara," he said, "plot a course through the Lothari dust belt." She gave him a sharp look. "That place is a minefield. Dense asteroids, unstable magnetic fields. Navigation is nearly impossible." "For us, maybe," Vance said. "But those Rithari cruisers are built for show, not agility. If they follow, they'll have to slow down." Mara didn't argue further. She keyed in the course. The Princess wakes in the medbay. The sudden acceleration and change in ship vibration stirred the stasis pod. The medical team noticed the frost thinning from the glass. And then, with a hiss of air, the lid slowly lifted. Princess Aurella's eyes opened. They were a deep violet, scanning the unfamiliar room with sharp awareness. She sat up slowly, her long golden hair catching the medbay's sterile light. A young medic stepped forward. "Your Highness," Aurelia raised a hand, stopping him. "Where am I? Who commands this vessel?" Before the medic could answer, the deck shuddered under enemy weapons fire. Aurelia's gaze sharpened. "We are being hunted." First exchange of fireback on the bridge, the first Rithari ship closed. To maximum weapons range. Twin bursts of plasma tore through space, narrowly missing the Resolute as Vance threw the frigate into a hard roll. "Shields at 70%, shouted the tactical officer. "Return fire. Just enough to make them back off," Vance ordered. The Resolute's pulse cannons spat bright streams of energy. They struck the enemy's forward shields, forcing the Rithari ship to veer slightly, but not retreat. The other two ships kept closing. Unwanted advice. The comms officer spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving a direct hail from the Princess." Vance blinked. "Put her through." Aurelia's voice came over the bridge speakers, calm but firm. "Commander Vance, those ships do not serve my mother. They are loyal to her enemies. If they capture me, they will not take me alive." "I figured as much," Vance replied. "Right now, I'm trying to keep us both alive." "You cannot outrun them forever," she said. "But their ship designs have weaknesses. May I come to your bridge?" Vance hesitated only a moment. "Bring her up." Unlikely allies. When Aurelia stepped onto the bridge, the crew fell silent. Even under the strain of pursuit, her presence was commanding, tall, graceful, with an expression that seemed carved from marble. "You're the human commander," she said, stepping beside his chair. "You saved me from the stasis prison." "Wasn't planning on leaving you there," Vance said. She studied the tactical display. "Their forward heat sinks are poorly shielded. Your weapons may not pierce their hull, but a precise strike at those points could cripple their main cannons." Vance raised an eyebrow. "And here I thought you Rithari liked to keep that kind of information secret." "I like living more," she said. The HFY moment Vance grinned. "All right, let's make them regret following us." He ordered the ship to cut speed just enough for the pursuing cruisers to think they were gaining. When the lead ship drew close, Vance executed an abrupt flip and burn, something Rithari captains considered insane. The Resolute spun in place, reversing direction at high thrust, and in that split second, the gunners targeted the enemies. Exposed heat sinks, 2 bursts, 1 hit. The Rithari ship's forward cannons exploded in a flare of plasma, forcing it to peel away. The other 2 cruisers hesitated. They had never seen a human ship fight like that. "That's 1 down," Vance said. "Let's make it 2. Into the dust belt, with the lead pursuer crippled, the Resolute plunged into the swirling asteroid field of the Lothari dust belt. Massive rocks drifted in slow, dangerous rotations, and glowing clouds of charged particles distorted sensors. The enemy ships followed. Slower now, more cautious. Vance used the terrain to his advantage, weaving through narrow gaps and using asteroid shadows to mask his ship's heat signature. He even had the crew vent small bursts of engine coolant to fake debris trails, tricking the pursuers into firing at empty space. The voice returns. In the middle of the chase, his private comm channel crackled. The same distorted voice from before spoke again. "You've ignored my warnings twice, human. This will be your last chance. Bring the princess to the coordinates I sent you, and Earth will be spared." This time, Vance answered. "Who are you?" The voice gave a cold laugh. "Someone who knows how this ends. The Council is not your friend. Neither is the Queen. You're carrying a death sentence." The signal cut out again. Mara glanced at him. "Sir?" "Not now," Vance said. The narrow escape one of the remaining cruisers attempted to cut them off at the far edge of the dust belt. Vance made a gamble, diving the Resolute into a dense cluster of magnetic storms. Every alarm on the bridge screamed, and navigation systems flickered in and out, but the storms worked both ways. The enemy's targeting systems went blind, and one miscalculated turn sent the second cruiser crashing into an asteroid, breaking apart in a silent bloom of fire and debris. The final cruiser held back, unwilling to risk the same fate. The Resolute cleared the belt, engines battered but still running. The truth revealed. When the danger passed, Orilla stood at the center of the bridge. "You saved us," she said simply. "You gave me the target," Vance replied. "Call it even." She studied him for a moment before speaking again. "You deserve to know the truth. My disappearance was not the work of pirates. It was my own people. Rithari nobles who wished to overthrow my mother. If I return to the Council without proof of the conspiracy, I will be assassinated before I can speak." Vance frowned. "And the Council will hand you straight to them." "Yes," Orilla said, "which is why you must not take me there." The impossible decision. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Disobeying orders from the Terran Navy could mean court-martial, prison even, but handing her over could mean her death. Vance leaned back in his chair. "If you're right, Princess, then whoever sent that encrypted message. They're part of this too." Her expression darkened. "Then they already know we're alive, and they will send more ships." Vance looked at the nav map. Two routes appeared before them. The direct path to Eridan Prime and the Council. The mysterious coordinates the voice had sent, deep in uncharted space. Both were dangerous. Both could decide the fate of not just Orilla, but Earth itself. "Set a course," Vance said at last, "but not for the Council." The Resolute had been in deep space for 4 days, following the strange coordinates sent by the anonymous voice. Outside the viewport, there was nothing but endless black, sprinkled with distant stars. The crew worked in silence, tension heavy in the air. They all knew that by ignoring orders, they were now fugitives. From the Terran Navy, from the Rithari Empire, and from whoever else wanted the princess. Commander Elias Vance sat in the captain's chair, staring at the holographic star map. They were deep beyond any known trade routes, heading toward a sector marked only as unsurveyed. "Approaching the target system," said Mara, breaking the quiet. "No data in the archives, no comm relays, no beacon signals." "Which means," Vance said, "either nobody's ever been here, or someone doesn't want it on the maps." Arrival-us. The ship exited hyperspace. A pale yellow sun filled the screen. 2 rocky planets spun lazily around it. The second planet, larger and green from orbit, had an atmosphere that scans showed was breathable. "Looks like a paradise world," Mara said. "Gravity slightly higher than Earth's. Plenty of water." Vance didn't like it. Worlds this nice were rarely untouched without a reason. The Resolute descended into the planet's upper atmosphere. Below them stretched endless jungle broken only by rivers and ancient-looking stone structures poking above the treetops. The scanners chirped, faint energy readings, and something else, something big. The crash landing, without warning, the ship shook violently. "Magnetic interference!" shouted the helmsman. "It's pulling us down!" Vance gripped the armrests. "Stabilize us!" "I'm trying." The ship lurched again, alarms blaring. "Engines failing!" They came down hard in a clearing, near the edge of a massive jungle. The landing struts dug deep into the earth, the hull groaning under the impact. Damage reports flooded in. Engines offline, comms partially functional, navigation scrambled. They weren't going anywhere until repairs were made. First steps on the surface. The air outside was heavy and warm, filled with the calls of strange creatures. The trees were massive, their leaves broad and glistening. Giant insect-like creatures buzzed lazily in the humid air. Vance led a small team, himself, Mara, 2 Marines, and Princess Orilla, toward the nearest stone structure. Vines climbed over the walls, but carvings still showed beneath the growth. Images of battles, strange ships, and tall humanoid figures. "These are not Rithari," Orilla said, tracing the carvings with her fingers. "They look human." "That's impossible," Mara said. "Humans never left Earth until 200 years ago." Vance didn't answer. But in his gut, he knew the princess was right. The faces in the carvings were unmistakably human. The ruins. The group entered the crumbling structure. Inside, dust motes danced in the beams of their flashlights. In the center of the room was a circular platform covered in alien symbols, and at its heart, a device that pulsed with faint blue light. Orilla knelt beside it. "This is a memory core. Very old, but still active. If we can access it, we might learn who built this place." As she worked, Vance kept watch. His instincts were screaming that they weren't alone. Bounty hunters. He was right. Shadows moved in the trees outside. Shapes, sleek and armed, creeping closer. The Resolutes. Motion sensors pinged. Multiple targets closing fast. "Contact!" one of the Marines shouted. The attackers burst from the jungle, tall reptilian hunters wearing dark armor, their weapons spitting blue bolts of energy. Vance dove for cover behind a stone pillar, returning fire with his rifle. Mara and the Marines fought back, cutting down 2 of the creatures, but more poured in. "They're bounty hunters!" Orilla shouted over the noise. "Sent to capture me alive!" The fight turned into chaos. Energy bolts scorched the walls, filling the air with smoke. Vance noticed the hunters were careful not to shoot Orilla directly. They wanted her unharmed. That gave him an idea. "Mara!" he yelled. "Suppressing fire! Draw them toward me!" She didn't question it. While she and the Marines poured fire toward the attackers, Vance slipped through the shadows, circling around behind the hunters. He set up small magnetic mines from his belt, crude human tech, but effective. When the hunters advanced into the ruin's center, the mines detonated in a chain, blasting them backward. Shards of stone rained down, and the survivors fled into the jungle. The artifact breathing hard, Vance turned back to Orilla. She had activated the memory core during the fight. A holographic projection flickered to life above the device, a star map showing hundreds of systems. One was marked in bright gold. "This," she said, pointing to the golden star, "is the Rithari home system. But look at the date. This map is from thousands of years ago. And here," she traced another path. "This is Earth's location. Humans were marked as a known species long before your history says you left your homeworld." Vance stared at the hologram. "You're telling me humans had contact with the galaxy thousands of years ago, and then forgot?" Orilla nodded slowly. "Or someone made you forget." The signal, before they could discuss it further, the memory core let out a deep hum. A pulse of energy shot into the sky, a beacon. On the Resolute, the crew reported that every scanner lit up like a flare. "We just told the whole galaxy where we are," Mara said grimly. Vance didn't need it explained. That signal would draw every interested party straight to them. The council, the conspirators, pirates, mercenaries. All of them. Preparing for trouble back at the crash site, the crew worked frantically to repair the Resolute's engines. The jungle's strange animal cries seemed closer now, more aggressive. And above, small flashes in the night sky hinted at incoming ships. Orilla stood beside Vance. If we leave now, the conspirators will still find us. But if we can transmit the memory core's data to my mother, the Queen, she will know the truth. That's assuming the message reaches her before the conspirators reach us, Vance said. She gave a faint smile. Then we must be faster. HFY moment, jungle defense. Knowing they had limited time, Vance organized the crew into defensive teams. He didn't use standard military formation. Instead, he taught them guerrilla tactics from old Earth wars. They set up traps in the jungle, tripwires, collapsing nets made from local vines, concealed pits with sharpened stakes, and reflective panels to confuse targeting sensors. When the next wave of bounty hunters came, they walked straight into the traps. Explosions echoed through the trees, and the attackers fell into chaos. Orilla watched the humans fight with a mixture of shock and admiration. You improvise in ways my people never would, Vance grinned. We don't play fair. That's how we survive. The air was cold, filled with the smell of smoke and burning metal. Commander Ray Carter stood at the edge of the ruined alien city, his armor scratched and dented, his pulse rifle hot from use. Behind him, Princess Lyra clutched the blanket, wrapped around her shoulders, her silver hair messy, her pale face tense. They had escaped the first wave of pursuers, barely. But Ray knew it wouldn't last. The Queen's enemies would not give up so easily. And this time, they would come with more than just soldiers. Are you hurt? Ray asked, scanning the horizon. Lyra shook her head. No, but they will not. Stop until I am dead or captured. You should have left me. Ray frowned. Yeah, not really my style. You're stuck with me now. She looked away, almost smiling. But the weight of their situation quickly returned to her face. The enemy moves far, above the burning city. In the command room of the rebel flagship, General Vorik stood before a holographic map. His scaled fingers tapped the air as markers moved across the display. She is moving north, one of his officers said. The human is protecting her. Vorik's eyes narrowed. A human? Alone? Then he is dangerous. I want him alive long enough to know fear, then end him. The officer nodded. Our hunters will be ready. The general's mouth curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. The long road Ray and Lyra traveled through the cracked streets, staying in the shadows. His armor's sensors picked up heat signatures, movement on rooftops and alleys. The enemy was everywhere. We can't go straight north, Ray said. Too many eyes. We'll cut through the old industrial zone. Lyra hesitated. That area is forbidden. Good thing I'm not from around here, Ray replied. As they moved deeper, the streets became silent. Factories towered like dead giants. Machinery lay rusted, covered in strange vines. The air was heavy with the smell of oil and dust. This place, Lyra whispered. They say shadows here are alive. Ray kept his rifle ready. Then let's not stand still long enough to find out. The ambush. Halfway through the zone, Ray's sensors screamed. Down! He shouted, pulling Lyra behind a collapsed wall. A swarm of alien drones swooped overhead, firing bolts of plasma. The ground exploded around them. Ray returned fire, hitting 2 drones, but more replaced them. They'll pin us down, Lyra said. Not if we move, Ray replied, tossing a smoke grenade. Thick white clouds covered their position. He grabbed Lyra's hand and ran. Through the smoke, shadowy shapes moved. Not drones, not soldiers. They were something else, crawling along the walls like insects. Lyra's voice shook. Ray, those are the shadows. The forbidden truth one of the creatures leapt at them, its form shifting like liquid darkness. Ray's rifle tore it apart, but instead of blood, black mist poured out. The mist curled and reached toward Lyra, as if alive. She stepped back, terrified. "It knows me." "What are these things?" Ray demanded, shooting another. "They were made, long ago, as weapons," she said. "The rebels released them here to keep people away." "Great," Ray muttered. "So we're in a monster nest." They fought their way through the shadows, the air turning colder with each step. Ray noticed the creatures avoided the light from his rifle's beam. He increased its brightness, forcing them back. Finally, they burst into an open yard filled with broken ships. The shadows stopped at the edges, hissing in the darkness. The tracker A's, they caught their breath. Ray's comm crackled. It wasn't human tech. It was alien, but he recognized the voice instantly. "Human." General Vorek's voice was deep and mocking. "You run well, but you can't hide forever." Ray smirked. "Funny, I was about to say the same thing." "You don't understand. Every step you take brings you closer to my trap. The princess belongs to us." Ray killed the connection. "Not happening." The ally from the far side of the yard, a figure emerged. Ray raised his rifle, but Lyra stepped forward in shock. "Tovik?" she said. The figure was a tall alien soldier in battered armor carrying a heavy staff weapon. His green skin was scarred and one eye was covered with a patch. "Princess," he said, bowing slightly. "I served your mother once. I owe her my life." Ray kept his rifle up. "And I'm supposed to trust you?" "If you want to survive," Tovik replied, "you have no choice. The rebels have set a blockade to the north. You cannot break through without help." Ray studied him for a moment. "All right, but if you try anything, you'll kill me," Tovik finished. "Yes, human. I believe you." The race with Tovik leading, they moved through a hidden network of tunnels beneath the zone. The air was damp, the walls covered with glowing moss. The sound of distant footsteps echoed. The rebels were close. "They know these tunnels too," Tovik warned. "We must move faster." As they ran, the tunnels shook. Explosions above sent debris falling. The rebels were collapsing the exits to trap them inside. "Go!" Ray shouted, shoving Lyra forward. At the final exit, daylight streamed in. But a squad of rebel soldiers blocked the way. Plasma fire lit the air. Ray and Tovik fought side by side, taking down soldier after soldier. Finally, Ray grabbed Lyra and leapt through the exit. Behind them, the tunnel collapsed completely, cutting off pursuit. The alien sky burned red as human and alien ships clashed above. Massive explosions lit up the clouds, and the sound of battle rolled like thunder across the capital city of the Zareth Empire. Jack stood on the balcony of the Queen's palace, his rifle slung across his chest, watching the chaos unfold. Beside him stood Lyra, the Queen's daughter, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "They're here for me," Lyra said quietly. "They're here for all of us," Jack replied. "But we're not giving them what they want." Below, soldiers loyal to the Queen were preparing defenses. Human Marines worked side by side with alien guards, setting up barricades and placing heavy weapons in position. This was no longer just a rescue mission. This was the battle that would decide the fate of two species. The enemy moves in high above. The enemy's flagship loomed like a black shadow. The warlord, General Vorak, had sent his most elite troops to storm the palace. Jack could see their dropships cutting through the smoke as they descended. "Here they come," Jack muttered, tightening his grip on his weapon. Lyra touched his arm. "If anything happens, promise me you'll protect my people." Jack looked at her. "I'm not going anywhere without you, and I don't break promises." The dropships landed with a deafening crash. Armored enemy soldiers poured out, firing energy weapons as they advanced. The air was filled with the sharp smell of burning metal and ozone. "Positions!" Jack shouted. The Human Marines Alien Guards Alliance answered with a wave of return fire, fighting for every inch. The first wave hit hard. Enemy troops charged straight into the barricades, forcing Jack's team to fight hand-to-hand. Jack ducked under a swinging alien blade, driving his rifle butt into the attacker's chest before firing point blank. To his left, a Marine brought down two enemies with precise bursts, while an alien guard used a massive halberd to clear a path. The sound was deafening. Blaster fire, shouts, the hiss of plasma cutting through air. It was chaos! Hold the line! Jack yelled. But even as they fought, he could see the enemy pushing closer to the palace gates. The Queen's command. From the palace steps, Queen Seraphine herself appeared, wearing battle armor adorned with the royal crest. She raised her voice so that all could hear. "This is our home! We do not kneel to tyrants! Fight!" Her soldiers roared in response, the sound carrying over the battlefield. Even the Human Marines felt a surge of courage at her words. Jack glanced at Lyra. "Your mom knows how to make a speech." Lyra's eyes shone. "She's always been like that. A desperate plan." As the battle raged, Jack knew they couldn't. Just hold the palace. The enemy flagship would keep sending troops until they were overrun. They needed to take out the ship. He grabbed his comm. "Command, this is Captain Jack Rourke. I need an airstrike on the enemy flagship. Coordinates. Uploading now." Static crackled back. "Negative, Captain. Too many shields." "You'd need to disable them from the inside," Jack cursed under his breath. That meant one thing: boarding the ship. He turned to Lyra. "I'm going up there." Lyra's face paled. "You can't. It's suicide." "Maybe," Jack said. "But if we don't, everyone here dies." She hesitated, then handed him a small crystal pendant. "For luck." Jack smiled. "For victory." The final climb. With a squad of Marines, Jack used a captured enemy dropship to blast off into the sky. They weaved through the chaos, dodging enemy fighters until the massive black hull of the flagship filled their view. "Brace!" Jack shouted as they smashed into a docking bay. The hatch blew open, and they stormed inside. The corridors of the ship were dark and filled with smoke. Enemy soldiers swarmed to meet them, but Jack's squad fought like wolves, fast, brutal, and unstoppable. Every step forward was bought with blood. Finally, they reached the shield generator room. Jack planted explosives while the Marines covered him. "Charges set!" he shouted. "Move, move, move!" Turning the tide. They barely made it back to the dropship before the charges detonated. The flagship's shields dropped instantly, glowing sparks rippling across its surface. Back on the ground, human and alien artillery opened fire. The flagship shuddered as missiles slammed into it. In the palace, Lyra watched from the balcony, holding her breath. Then, with a sound like the sky tearing, the flagship exploded in a burst of fire and debris. The enemy forces on the ground faltered, their morale breaking. Jack's voice came over comms. "Target eliminated. Let's finish this." Victory. And a promise. The remaining enemy troops were quickly surrounded and forced to surrender. The battle was over. Smoke rose over the city, but the palace still stood. Jack walked through the battered courtyard, his armor scorched and his face streaked with grime. Lyra ran to him, relief and joy on her face. "You came back," she said. "Told you I would," Jack replied, handing back her pendant. Queen Seraphine approached, her gaze filled with gratitude. "You didn't just save my daughter, you saved our world." Jack shrugged. "Just doing my job." The Queen smiled. "Perhaps. But you've also earned a place in our history. The beginning of something new in the days that followed humans, and the Zareth Empire signed a formal alliance. Trade ships began moving between their worlds, and both species worked together to rebuild." Jack stood on the palace balcony once more, this time with peace instead of war below. Lyra stood beside him, the evening sun casting golden light across the city. "So, she said softly. Was it really just a mission? Jack chuckled. No, it was the start of something bigger. They watched the sunset in silence. A soldier. From Earth and the daughter of an alien queen, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together.